Well, the federal government is taking the better safe than sorry approach after Canadian insurers paid out a record $4.9 billion in 2016, in large part due to natural disasters, including the Fort McMurray wildfire. The new budget has allocated $2 billion to create the Disaster Mitigation and Adaptation Fund. It will invest in large-scale infrastructure projects and prepare communities for the effects of climate change and any future natural disasters. For more, we're joined by Glenn McGillivray, Managing Director of the Institute for Catastrophic Loss Reduction. Glenn, thank you for being here. You know, as we were talking about during the break, it has always seemed to me, at least up until very recently, that Canada has been spared a lot of these large-scale natural disasters that we oftentimes see south of the border. That's not necessarily the case anymore.
Yeah, I think things are really changing, especially since about 2009. We've had billion-dollar years pretty much every year since then, and in a few cases, multi-billion-dollar years, as you noted last year, close to $5 billion, and in 2013, close to 2, or 3.2 actually. So yeah, things are really changing in Canada.
And the government is stepping in. They're becoming active in this area of disaster mitigation. Why have they decided that it's the role of the federal government to do something about this?
Well, for many years, the government has paid out for cleanup, disaster assistance. You know, they clean things up, put things back the way they were. That doesn't make a lot of sense anymore. I mean, they're going to continue to do that, but we have to prevent these things from happening in the first place, or at least preventing the impact. So it makes more sense. You're going to pay one way or the other. You might as well try to mitigate the impact of these things.
So what sort of research is going into identifying where a problem could potentially occur? I mean, how do we know, you know, in retrospect, we could see, you know, Fort Mac was a tinder box, you know, there were floods in southern Alberta, but we don't necessarily know those until they've already happened. So what sort of research goes into this sort of thing?
There's a lot of research going into this sort of thing. Institute for Catastrophic Loss Reduction does a lot of work to identify hazard areas, risk areas in Canada. We're doing a lot of work in the area of flood, particularly urban flood associated with heavy rainfall events. A lot of wildfire work especially as well. There are many groups, academic and otherwise, doing work into this area. And we have a pretty good understanding of where the hazards are.
Okay.
It's carrying that over to the risk and figuring out how hazard intersects with the built environment in society, and then prioritizing those, and there's a lot of work being done there.
So who's winning here? Is this a big win for the insurance companies, for the insurance industry?
This is a big one for everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, natural disasters impact everybody. And ultimately, when something happens in Canada, insurance companies pick up part of the bill, but taxpayers pick up a lot of it.
Yeah.
And so, like I said before, we could either just pay to clean these things up and put things back the way they were, and then get hit again a few years later, or we can work to prevent them from happening again, and this makes a lot of sense in that regard.
So where would we be looking right now? Let's say this fund is operational, up and running right now. What are some of the priorities that we need to be taking a look at?
Well, first of all, this is a cost-sharing fund, so it's going to be kind of triggered by municipalities or provinces that are implementing large infrastructure projects, so then the government will kick in, share the money out of the $2 billion. I could see this money going to flood mitigation, frankly, to a great degree. Overland flood is the most common peril in Canada. About 40% of the events that we see over the years are overland floods. So I could see, you know, dams and levees and seawalls and dikes and things of that nature, new stormwater systems being put in, that sort of thing. Hopefully we'll see some money going into wildfire and a few other things as well.
It seems like a great project. Would it be more effective if we had an educational component to it as well?
There has to be.
Yeah.
You know, the government at all levels can do everything possible, everything under the sun to mitigate the impact of natural disasters. But if homeowners or private property owners don't do their share, it's all for naught. I mean, we're still going to have big losses. So we really have to educate homeowners and others to do things to make their properties more resilient as well.
And is there an opportunity here, do you think, for provincial governments to follow suit? Or is this something that is going to be the exclusive domain of the federal government?
No, absolutely. All levels of government have to step in, and they are, I think, to a great degree. And the $2 billion is a start. I hate to say that, but we're way behind the 8 ball in infrastructure in this country. We're something like, well, $136 billion was the last number I saw, and that's close to 10 years old. But it is happening. We need more of it, but this is a great start.
Glenn McGillivray, thank you very much for being here this morning.